Walk into Best Buy on a Saturday afternoon in 2026 and you'll see something interesting. The TVs look incredible. 85-inch screens for $999, QLED technology at prices that would have been science fiction 5 years ago. The salespeople are eager, the displays are dazzling, and if you're not careful, you'll walk out thinking you just scored the deal of a lifetime. Here's what they're not telling you. Behind those gorgeous demo loops and eye-popping price tags, something fundamental has changed in how TVs are being made. And it's not in your favor. The TVs on store shelves right now are objectively worse than the ones sold 3 years ago at the same price points. Cheaper components, aggressive cost cutting, software that treats you like a data mine instead of a customer. And the evidence? It's everywhere once you know where to look. The price illusion. Why cheap is getting expensive. Let's start with what seems like good news. A 65-inch 4K TV that cost $800 in 2022 now goes for $449 at Walmart. That's progress, right? Your dollar is going further. Except it's not, because that 2026 TV at $449 will likely need replacing in 3 years, while the 2022 model at $800 is still working fine in living rooms across America. When you do the math on cost per year of use, you're actually paying more now. Consumer Reports published data in early 2025 showing that budget TVs under $500 now have a failure rate of 18% within the first 3 years. That's up from 12% in 2022. Translation: nearly 1 in 5 people who buy a budget TV today will be shopping for a replacement before their original purchase would have even been broken in a few years ago. Here's what's happening. TV manufacturers discovered something brilliant from a business perspective and terrible from a consumer perspective. They make more money selling you 3 cheap TVs over 9 years than 1 decent TV that lasts a decade. The incentives have completely flipped. A Costco member from Ohio put it bluntly, bought a Hisense 65-inch for $399 in March 2025. By November, half the screen had dark spots. Warranty process took 6 weeks. They offered me a refurbished replacement. I paid for new. That's the hidden cost. The warranty runaround. The time spent troubleshooting. The eventual replacement that's never quite as good. The frustration of explaining to customer service that yes, you did try unplugging it. The panel lottery. Why 2 identical TVs aren't? Here's something manufacturers really don't want you to know. When you buy a TV in 2026, you're essentially playing panel lottery. Same model number, same box, completely different guts. TV brands used to source panels from 1 or 2 manufacturers for each model. Consistency was part of the value proposition, not anymore. To keep costs down and supply chains flexible, brands now source from whoever's cheapest that month. Your TCL 55S450G might have a BOE panel. Your neighbor's identical model might have an AUO panel. Different brightness, different color accuracy, different longevity. This practice became widespread in 2024 and accelerated through 2025. The Verge reported on this trend, noting that even premium brands like Samsung now do panel mixing on mid-range models. One Samsung Q60D owner reported getting 450 nits of peak brightness, while another measured 320 nits on the same model purchased a month later. Let me break this down in practical terms. You go to Best Buy, you see a gorgeous display model, you check the reviews online, everything looks perfect. You buy that exact model number, you get it home. It doesn't look the same, not even close, you're not crazy. You literally got a different TV that happens to share a name with the one you researched. One Reddit user said, spent 2 weeks researching the TCL 6 series. Review sites loved it. Got mine home, immediately noticed the uniformity was garbage. Exchanged it. The second one was better. Third one was perfect. I basically had to win the lottery 3 times. That's not quality control, that's quality roulette. The worst part? Return policies protect you for maybe 30 days. These panel differences often don't become obvious until you've lived with the TV for a while. Until you've watched HDR content in a dark room. Until you've noticed that sports broadcasts have weird motion artifacts. By then, you're stuck. The software scam. Your TV is spying on you for profit. Remember when a TV was just a screen? You plugged in your cable box or DVD player, you watched TV, end of story. Those days are dead. Modern TVs are surveillance devices that happen to display video. And in 2025 and 2026, it's gotten so much worse. Every major TV manufacturer now makes more money from selling your viewing data than from selling you the TV. Think about that. The physical product is almost a loss leader for the real product. Information about what you watch, when you watch it, and how they can serve you ads based on that data. LG got caught in late 2024 pushing full-screen ads to OLED TV owners when their TVs went into screensaver mode. Not little banner ads. Full-screen ads for movies and products replacing your custom screensaver on TVs that cost $2,000 to $3,000. The backlash was fierce enough that LG rolled it back, but here's the thing, they tried it. They thought they could get away with it, and they'll try again in a different form. Samsung's recent software updates include more ads in the interface, slower boot times, and forced firmware updates that you can't decline. A Samsung Frame owner posted, "Bought this TV specifically because the interface was clean. 2 firmware updates later, every menu has sponsored content. I paid $1,500 to be advertised to in my own living room." TCL and Hisense have been even more aggressive. Their Google TV implementations now show video ads before you can access your apps, not pre-roll ads in YouTube, ads before you can even open Netflix. You turn on your TV to watch something, you have to watch an ad first. On hardware you own. The technical term for this is fast, free ad-supported television. The TV manufacturers sell spots on these platforms and keep the revenue. It's brilliant for shareholders and infuriating for customers. Some budget TVs now spend more processing power serving ads than processing your actual content. Consumer Reports found that disabling all the tracking and ad features on a typical smart TV requires going through 12 different menu settings, most of which reset after firmware updates. It's designed to be too annoying to bother with. Here's the real kicker. These smart TV platforms are getting slower over time. That 2024 TCL that booted up in 8 seconds? After a year of updates, it takes 25 seconds. The interface lags. Apps crash more frequently. Why? Because the manufacturer is doing more surveillance, processing more data, serving more ads. Your user experience degrades so their ad revenue can increase. An IT professional on Reddit ran packet analysis on his new Hisense TV. It's pinging tracking servers every 30 seconds when powered on, sending data about what I'm watching, how long, what time of day. I put it on a separate VLAN and blocked the tracking domains. Now half the smart features don't work. It's malware with a display attached. The backlight crisis. Why your picture goes dark. Let's talk about the #1 failure point in modern LED TVs, the backlight. It's the array of LEDs behind your screen that illuminates the picture. When it fails, your TV either goes completely dark or develops vertical bands of dead zones. Backlight failure used to be rare. A LED backlight could theoretically last 100,000 hours. You'd need to watch TV for 11 years straight to reach that. But in 2025 and 2026, backlights are failing at 18 months, 12 months, sometimes 8 months after purchase. What changed? Cheaper LEDs, fewer of them, and thermal management that prioritizes thinness over longevity. Manufacturers discovered they could cut costs by using lower-grade LEDs and cramming them into thinner chassis with inadequate heat dissipation. The TV looks sleek on the sales floor. It dies faster in your living room. A Walmart shopper from Texas said, "Bought an O&N 55-inch Walmart's house brand for $278. 8 months in, dark band down the left side, kept growing, contacted support. Rep told me that model has a 1-year warranty, but backlight failure isn't covered. I asked what is covered. She didn't have an answer." That warranty trick is everywhere now. The TV has a warranty. The backlight has a warranty. They're not the same warranty. Read the fine print on a TCL or Hisense in 2026, and you'll find the backlight is covered for 90 days while the TV itself is covered for a year. Guess what fails at month 4? Best Buy's Geek Squad reports that backlight failure service calls have increased 34% year over year. They're seeing entire batches of models from multiple manufacturers with identical failure patterns. One technician told a customer forum, "We're replacing backlight assemblies on TVs that are barely out of warranty. Sometimes we see 5 of the same model in a week. That's not random failure. That's designed failure." The cost to repair a backlight after warranty, usually $200 to $400 depending on size. On a TV you paid $450 for. The math doesn't work, which is exactly the point. HDMI board failure, the other death sentence. If backlight failure is the #1 way budget TVs die, HDMI board failure is number 2. And it's arguably more frustrating because it's intermittent. Your TV works fine. Then one day, your PlayStation won't connect. You try a different HDMI port, works for a week, then that one goes out. You try new cables, doesn't help. Eventually, you're down to 1 working HDMI port on a TV with 4, and then that last one starts flickering. This is HDMI board degradation, and it's everywhere in 2025-2026 budget and mid-range TVs. The reason? HDMI 2.1 ports that aren't actually built to HDMI 2.1 standards. Manufacturers want to advertise 4K, add 120 Hz for gaming. They want that HDMI 2.1 badge on the box. But true HDMI 2.1 implementation requires better components and stricter quality control, so they use cheaper boards, cheaper ports, cheaper solder joints. It tests fine in the factory. It degrades within a year of normal use. A Best Buy reviewer of the Insignia F30 series wrote, "Bought this for the HDMI 2.1 ports for my Series X. 3 months in, the TV won't recognize the console half the time. Power cycling helps temporarily. Best Buy says this is within acceptable tolerances." What tolerance? The tolerance for it not working? Here's what acceptable tolerances means in 2026. As long as the failure rate stays below a certain threshold, usually around 15-20%, it's cheaper for the manufacturer to eat the warranty replacements than to use better components. You're in that 15-20%? Congratulations. Vizio got hit with a class action lawsuit in 2024 over systematic HDMI failures in their M Series and V Series models from 2021-2023. The settlement offered affected customers $50 or a refurbished replacement. The TVs cost $500 to $800. The repairs cost $150 to $250. The settlement barely covered the inconvenience, much less the actual loss. And here's the thing. That lawsuit didn't make Vizio or any other manufacturer change their practices. It just got folded into the cost of doing business. Factor in X amount for settlements and recalls, still cheaper than better components. Burn-in is back. The OLED problem. Nobody mentions OLED TVs were supposed to be the future. Perfect blacks, infinite contrast, colors that make LED look like a child's toy. For years, manufacturers told us burn-in was a solved problem. Modern OLEDs have pixel shift, screensavers, panel refresh cycles, nothing to worry about. That was optimistic. In 2025 and 2026, we're seeing burn-in return as a significant issue, especially in the cheaper OLED models. LG's A Series and B Series OLEDs, the ones that got cheap enough for regular people to afford, are showing image retention and permanent burn-in at rates much higher than the premium C Series and G Series models. Why? Cheaper OLED panels with less aggressive burn-in mitigation. The expensive OLEDs use newer panel technology with better heat management. The budget OLEDs use older panels pushed harder to hit the same brightness specs. They burn out faster. An LG B4 owner posted, "Watch CNN for an hour every morning. After 6 months, I can see a ghost of the news ticker on solid backgrounds. I do the panel refresh religiously. Doesn't matter." Called LG, they said image retention isn't covered under warranty unless it's severe. I can see breaking news burned into my $2,300 TV. What's severe? The advice used to be, if you watch a lot of content with static elements, avoid OLED. Now the advice is, If you want OLED, spend the extra $500 for a premium model, or you're paying for problems. Samsung's QD OLED panels in their S90 and S95 series are holding up better, but they're also $2,000 plus. The value proposition of OLED, that sweet spot where amazing picture quality meets reasonable pricing, is evaporating. You can get cheap OLED with problems or expensive OLED that works. The middle ground is disappearing. The warranty shell game. Good luck getting help. Let's say you buy a TV. Something goes wrong, you contact support. In 2026, that experience has become deliberately hostile. First, you'll spend 30 minutes navigating phone trees. Then you'll get someone reading from a script who will insist you perform every basic troubleshooting step, even if you explain you've already done them. Then, if you're persistent enough, you'll be told to ship the TV back for evaluation, at your expense. For a TV that weighs 40 pounds and is delicate enough that shipping it likely causes more damage. Or they'll send a technician, in 6 weeks, who will look at it for 5 minutes, declare it a power supply issue or panel failure, and tell you it's not covered, even though the warranty explicitly says it covers defects in materials and workmanship. Apparently, every failure is user error or wear and tear. A TCL owner from Florida described his warranty experience. Screen went black. Called support in September. They sent a tech in November. Tech said needs new panel. TCL said they don't have panels for that model anymore. Offered me 20% off a new TV. My TV was 14 months old. That's not a warranty. That's a courtesy insult. Hisense has been particularly notorious in 2025 for warranty denials. Multiple customer reports of being told their TV damage was caused by power surges not covered under warranty, even in homes with surge protectors and no other devices affected. One customer hired an independent technician who determined the failure was a manufacturing defect in the power supply. Hisense still denied the claim. The TV was 8 months old. Here's the secret. Warranty departments are cost centers. Every approval cuts into profit, so the system is designed to deny first, then deny again, then maybe approve if you're annoying enough. Most people give up. That's the strategy. Best Buy's extended warranties are sometimes better, but they come with their own frustrations. Geek Squad protection often means refurbished replacements instead of repairs. And if your model has been discontinued, which happens fast in the TV world, they'll offer you the nearest comparable model, which usually means smaller or a previous generation. You paid for 5 years of coverage on a 65-inch 2025 model. You get a 55-inch 2023 refurb in 2027. Enjoy. The death of the mid-range. Why there's no good option. Here's the structural problem that makes everything worse. The middle of the TV market has collapsed. It used to be budget TVs under $500, mid-range from $500, $100 to $200, premium above $100-$200. You got what you paid for. The budget TVs were compromised but functional. The mid-range TVs were solid performers with good longevity. The premium TVs were for enthusiasts. In 2026, there's basically no mid-range anymore. There are budget TVs with reliability problems and premium TVs at prices most people can't justify. The gap between $600 and $1,500 is a wasteland of disappointing compromises. TCL and Hisense tried to own the mid-range with their 6 Series and U7 models. For a while it worked. Then they started cutting corners, cheaper panels, inconsistent quality control, software bugs that took months to fix. The TCL 6 Series with Google TV had such severe performance issues in 2021 that Best Buy temporarily stopped selling it. The bugs got fixed, but customer trust got broken. Samsung's Q60 and Q70 series are technically mid-range, but they're so stripped down compared to their premium siblings that they barely qualify as QLED. The local dimming is mediocre. The HDR performance is weak. You're paying for the Samsung name and not much else. LG's QNED models were supposed to fill this gap. Mini LED backlight with quantum dots combining the best of LCD technology. In practice, they're overpriced for what they deliver and undercut by cheaper mini LED options from TCL and Hisense that perform nearly as well for $400 less. What happened? Manufacturers realized the margins are better at the extremes. Sell high volume at low prices in the budget category. Sell high margin to enthusiasts in the premium category. The middle is complicated and not worth the trouble. A professional calibrator explained it on a forum. I calibrate TVs for clients. 5 years ago, I could get a mid-range set looking 80% as good as a premium for half the cost. Now, the mid-range stuff is barely better than budget. The gap to premium is huge. It's a barbell market. This is terrible for consumers because most people's sweet spot is that missing middle. They want something better than budget. They can't justify premium. They end up buying a $700 TV that isn't much better than the $400 model, or they stretch to $100 to $800 and regret the expense. The measurement manipulation, specs that lie pop. Quiz: you're comparing two TVs, both claim 1000 nits peak brightness. One costs $600, one costs $200. What's the difference? Everything, as it turns out. TV specs in 2026 are meaningless without context. Manufacturers have figured out how to game every measurement in ways that look good on paper and disappoint in practice. Peak brightness? That might be a 10% window on a test pattern. Real content in HDR might hit 400 nits. Contrast ratio, measured with the backlight at maximum, which you'll never actually use because it looks terrible. Color volume, measured at settings that oversaturate everything. Artings, the most trusted TV testing site, has documented this extensively. They measure TVs with standardized testing and compare it to manufacturer claims. The discrepancies are wild. A Hisense U6 claims 600 nits. Artings measured 380 nits in real-world HDR content. A TCL Q7 claims 120 Hz refresh rate. It's actually 60 Hz with motion smoothing tricks. Here's my favorite: HDR support. Every TV now supports HDR10. That's technically true. But supporting the format and actually displaying HDR content in a way that looks better than SDR are completely different things. Without adequate brightness and local dimming, HDR just looks like washed-out SDR. A home theater enthusiast explained, HDR without at least 500 nits of sustained brightness is like HD without resolution. You're checking a box on the spec sheet. The experience doesn't improve. Sometimes it's worse. This measurement manipulation means you can't trust the numbers on the box. You need professional reviews with calibrated equipment. But how many people shopping at Walmart on a Saturday are going to Artings first? They're reading the box, comparing numbers, and getting fooled. Consumer Reports tried to address this in 2025 by creating a new real-world performance rating that ignores manufacturer claims and tests everything themselves. It's helpful, but it's also a sad commentary that we need a watchdog organization to tell us if TVs actually do what they claim. The environmental cost nobody counts. Here's something that doesn't show up in the price tag. All these cheap TVs dying early create a massive environmental problem. E-waste is already one of the fastest growing waste streams globally. TVs contain plastics, heavy metals, and chemicals that don't belong in landfills. When a TV that should last 10 years dies in 3, that's not just a consumer problem, it's an environmental problem. The math is staggering. If 18% of the 40 million budget TVs sold in the US in 2025 fail within 3 years, that's 7.2 million TVs in landfills or recycling centers by 2028. Most won't get properly recycled. Electronic recycling is expensive and inconvenient. The TV ends up in the trash. Manufacturers love to advertise their environmental initiatives. Energy efficiency ratings, recyclable packaging, carbon-neutral shipping, all true, all meaningless if the product itself is designed for obsolescence. A sustainability consultant wrote a detailed analysis in 2025. The energy saved by an efficient TV is wiped out by manufacturing a replacement TV 3 years early. The most environmentally friendly TV is the one that lasts a decade, but that's not what we're selling anymore. Extended producer responsibility laws, which would require manufacturers to take back and recycle their products at end of life, have stalled in the US. Other countries have them, we don't. so there's no incentive for TV makers to design for longevity or recyclability. The incentive is to sell more TVs more often. This isn't a guilt trip. You need a TV, you should buy one. But it's worth understanding that the race to the bottom on pricing has costs that don't appear on the receipt. What you can actually do about this. So that's the landscape. Cheaper TVs that don't last, software that spies on you, warranties that don't cover what breaks, and a mid-range market that barely exists. What's a normal person supposed to do? First, adjust your expectations about budget TVs. If you're spending under $500, you're buying a disposable product. It might last a year, it might last 5, but plan for 3 and be happy if you get more. Do the math on cost per year, not upfront cost. Second, if you can possibly stretch your budget, do it. A $1,000 TV that lasts 7 years is cheaper than a $450 TV that lasts 2. The Samsung Q80, the LG C3, the Sony X90L, these are sweet spots where you get real performance and reasonable reliability. They're not cheap, but they're worth it. Third, buy from retailers with good return policies and use them. Costco's 90-day return window is gold. If your TV has issues, take it back. Don't fight with manufacturer warranties if you have a choice. Best Buy's return policy is more restrictive, but their Geek Squad protection, while imperfect, is better than manufacturer warranties. Fourth, disable every piece of tracking and advertising you can find. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, it takes 30 minutes. Do it anyway. Go into network settings, go into privacy settings, opt out of everything. Your TV will work better, and you'll get your living room back. Fifth, consider buying last year's model. A 2024 premium TV on clearance in 2026 is often a better value than a 2026 mid-range TV at full price. The technology hasn't changed enough to matter. The build quality is usually better. Sixth, keep your TV on a surge protector and practice good power management. A lot of component failures are accelerated by power fluctuations and heat buildup. Turn the TV off when you're not using it. Don't leave it on as background noise for 12 hours a day. Finally, vote with your wallet. If a manufacturer burns you, don't buy from them again. If a retailer makes returns difficult, shop elsewhere. The only language these companies speak is revenue. Make them lose yours. The bottom line. The TV industry has fundamentally changed its priorities, and consumers are paying the price. The race for cheaper prices and faster sales cycles has created products that look great in the store and disappoint at home. This isn't about being nostalgic for the old days. This is about understanding what you're actually buying in 2026. TVs are worse than they were 3 years ago at the same price points. That's not opinion, that's measurable reality. Failure rates are up. Component quality is down. Software is more intrusive. Warranties are less reliable. The mid-range has collapsed. The value proposition that made TV shopping straightforward is gone. But here's the thing. Knowing all this gives you power. You can make smarter decisions. You can avoid the worst offenders. You can set realistic expectations. You can protect yourself from the most egregious practices. The TV manufacturers are betting you won't do your homework. They're betting you'll see that $399 price tag and that gorgeous demo loop and hand over your credit card without asking questions. Don't make that bet with them. Make them earn your money with actual quality. Because at the end of the day, your living room deserves better than a disposable TV that spies on you while it slowly falls apart. Now I want to hear from you. What's your TV horror story? Have you dealt with warranty runarounds, early failures, aggressive advertising? Drop your experience in the comments. Let's build a real database of what's actually happening out there. And if you want more honest reviews before you drop $1,000 on your next TV, hit subscribe. We're just getting started pulling back the curtain on this industry.